talking about values, how do they matter in daily leadership situations? And how do they matter in building brands and leading brands?
Now, leaders are basically, they are the chief culture managers and chief talent managers. And values make, whatever, it is probably maybe more difficult, but it's essential. And it really also pays off in the bottom line. One of my colleagues at Harvard actually said something like 9% difference in the bottom line if you have a company with strong values. Of course, it's a balance. When they're too strong, you become a cult, and you become too inward-looking. But I very often give the example of the Jesuits. The Jesuits, are priests. Now, I think one of the most interesting leaders in the world is the Pope, Pope Francis. And if you want to be a priest, a Catholic priest, you have to buy into a number of values. One is, of course, faith. One has to do with obedience to the Pope, poverty, and also celibacy. They haven't always worked out that well. But if you are a Jesuit, you have 4 additional values. And that made them conquer the world. I mean, as a global organization. One is self-awareness. So every day you ask yourself, what have I done today which was meaningful? So to become a reflective leader in that respect, do I do something meaningful? The second one has to do with now in management babble, it's called BHAGs, big, hairy goals, but it's called in that, another heroism. So if you are going to counsel people, or whatever it might be, counsel the Emperor of China, not just a local person, you really set yourself big, difficult goals. And the third one had to do with ingenuity. If the straight road doesn't get you there, go around. And finally, love. I mean, not sexual love, but passion. Whatever you do, be passionate about it. And with those 4 extra values, they conquer the world.
I think an interesting point where our both discipline touches is that values enable or should enable personalities and teams to reach a higher level. The guerrilla times are over because the world around are too complex, and you see many companies fail because the gorilla is missing, and so these companies are becoming very, very unstable. And we have the situation, especially in the small and medium enterprises sector, that the founder, the patron retires, and the company is hopeless and helpless. And a brand, a living brand system built on values, which could be injected by the founder, that helps a company to survive and to have a common management tool which everybody in the company is able to adapt. And the promise is we help you to reach a higher level. And so I think in the times we are moving in, clear, specific, attractive and provable values will help organizations to develop.
What is the difference, Klaus, in managing a brand and managing a company? Or is there any difference?
Is there any difference? Yes. I don't think so, because if you are brand-centric mean to be customer-centric, to be performance-centric, to be employee-centric, because all of these items must fit perfectly together. Otherwise, whether a business model or a brand will work. So the difference between managing a brand, managing a company are very, very small if people realize that in saturated markets you need to manage your name and you have to give your good name a meaning. And in that moment you have a brand. So there are companies with brand or companies with no brands and companies with brands. And company management is more or less the same.
Mm-hmm. Leaders often get stuck when challenges arise. So what helps to get out of it? And what impedes transformation?
So we all get stuck. I mean, it's part of life is not a rose garden, so always difficulties you encounter. I think it helps when you have at least other members in the team. You can talk about it. A great company. In the past, when a person was not functioning very well, he might be assigned to coach. That was a negative side. It was outsourcing difficulties. Now it's actually a compliment to have a coach. because you realize that you cannot do it alone. It's nice to have a sounding board. So when you're stuck, and they also come to my seminars. And I try to create some tipping points that they may finally make certain decisions which might have been very difficult, because leadership has to do with the management of paradoxes. You're all the time dealing with paradoxes. And there's no simple answers. You have to all the time pull and push, trade-offs.
At the end, brands seem to be very, very simple, single-minded, clear positioned, but there are no simple answers to reach that position. So it's the same thing, and even there you have to manage all the paradoxes. And I think managing paradoxes is a sign for a great leader.
How to become resilient as a leader or as an organization and brand?
Now I can say something about resilience, which consists out of 3 factors, which is the openness to change, it's the feeling a sense of control over your life, and also it's an element of commitments, meaning that you also look at some higher purpose. You look for certain meanings.
Yeah, we try to bring the resilience thinking into the brand world because we are convinced that exactly these different sides of resilience will help brands to get into the future. And we used Austria as a test market to find out in the different industries what are the situations. And the outcomes were very interesting because in some cases the brands everybody's talking about are weaker than smaller brands, which very important, clear leadership, very often not managed brands, but owned brands. So an owner, an entrepreneur is behind the brand, and so we find out one of the core insights was that the size of the company has no influence on the resilience of a brand.
Can you give me now a statement, each of you, how leaders can succeed in handling transformations?
The most important thing initially is to listen, to really listen very carefully. And most executives are poor listeners, they talk a lot. So listen, and then you need to build a team who buys into your vision of the future. So you can't talk about a vision thing or something like that. What do I want to accomplish, whatever short and long run, and have people buy into that. And then you need some behavioral indicators to reward people for certain behavior.
Yeah, I would say from the brand point of view, one thing is knowing your borderlines. Very important for organizations in a world of possibilities to know what you're made for and what not, and this gives orientation. Secondly is to inspire people and bring them forward, internal as external. And if a brand, for instance, breathes this inspiration, it's a very attractive element. And the third part is to be open-minded, to listen, to not stop and not be satisfied and not being arrogant and not being I'm the greatest. And I think these 3 factors are important.
I think essential is what you said in the end, particularly. Never be satisfied with the status quo. Yeah. Always do some benchmarking, inside and outside the organization, to do better. And it's not easy because it's the elephant, as I say, the character is quite lazy. It's easy to just go on with the. But you should never be on automatic pilot.
And manage the comfort zone, and pulling the people and yourself out of the comfort zone in the right time.
So, well, this was a very interesting discussion. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing expectations and insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.